that I just showed. You must remove any doubt. If you can't do this, then Judge Moore needs to get out of this race. This country has way too many issues and problems. The American people deserve 100% truth and honesty. We need correct answers the first time on issues this serious. Judge Moore, you owe that to the people of Alabama, the Republican Party that you represent, and to the country which is suffering under so many problems. We deserve answers, consistent answers, and truth. Thank you for being with us. Stay with us here on the Fox News Channel. Laura Ingraham, there she is. Hi.
Hey, Sean, thanks so much.
Thanks,
and good evening, everyone from Washington. Thanks for joining us. This is the Ingraham Angle. All right, we have so much news for you tonight. We could actually use 2 hours, but we're only going to take one. We have an infuriating opening segment for you. Congress, get this, is spending your money to cover up sexual harassment, and some major developing stories for you on other fronts. President Trump returned moments ago from his 12-day trip to Asia. We're going to have a report about what he's doing next. And why are immigration agents complaining of the president? We'll tell you that as well. And Attorney General Jeff Sessions testified today before Congress about possible investigations into Hillary Clinton and that Uranium One deal. What's coming? Well, we'll tell you. But first, our top story, pulling back the curtain, sexual harassment inside the halls of Congress, and how you're paying for the secret settlements. Sexual misconduct scandals have engulfed Hollywood, media, and now politics with the Roy Moore revelations. But did you know that you've been funding payoffs for congressional harassment claims for decades? According to the Congressional Office of Compliance, between 1997 and 2014, hundreds of women have been paid $15.2 million in total in awards and settlements for Capitol Hill workplace violations. The House Administration Committee held a hearing on the matter yesterday.
In fact, there are 2 members of Congress, Republican and Democrat, right now, who have been subject to review or not have been subject to review, but have engaged in sexual harassment.
This member asked a staffer to bring them over some materials to their residence. And the young staffer, as a young woman, went there and was greeted with a member in a towel. It was a male, who then invited her in. At that point, he decided to expose himself. She left, and then she quit her job.
Joining us now for reaction here in Washington is Jenny Beth Martin. She's the co-founder of Tea Party Patriots. She has a new piece on this growing scandal. And Scott Bolden, former chairman of the Democratic Party in Washington, D.C., and a former sex crimes prosecutor. Jenny Beth, let's start with you. This is so ridiculous.
It's outrageous.
$15.2 million. And this was started by Senator I really respect and admire, Chuck Grassley. What was the thinking behind this? And we'll go into the procedures that women have to go through.
Well, it was part of the Congressional Accountability Act, which, you know, looking back on, yes, yeah, absolutely. I think that, well, at the time they were trying to make Congress live under the laws that they had passed, including Title VII of the Civil Rights Act. They were trying to make sure that they lived under several other laws, and they also wanted to create something to deal with sexual harassment. But in doing this, they have instituted a culture of corruption, and they have created much more intimidation for people who want to step forward.
Scott, let me share this with you. This is the Office of Compliance, the steps a woman has to go through to file a complaint.
Sure.
First, the victims get, I think we have a graphic, 180 days to complain. Okay, that's not bad. But you should get a little bit more if you're traumatized. Victims who want to continue must start 30 days of mediation. So they force you into mediation. Then finally, the Office of Compliance Administration does a hearing, or you can file a federal lawsuit, and it's all confidential. The problem, of course, is pushing women into mediation. And it seems to be geared toward stopping the claim. If I look at this as a former attorney, this is kind of pushing women, oh, you don't really want to file this, 30 days of mediation?
Well, this is all about power. And within that mediation, it's also a counseling piece. And when I first read this, I said, what are they counseling the women on? Either this happened or it didn't happen. But again, this is all about power. Remember, elected officials on the Hill are products, if you will. And this, the other thing that you didn't show was the lack of disclosure unless they go to court. So this is all very confidential. And it's all about taking care of each other as opposed to pulling the sheets off of it, if you will, and saying, listen, we got a problem. I think the Republicans and the Democrats on the Hill have a chance to lead by fixing this.
It's a slush hush fund.
I call it the shush. The shush.
Right.
Yeah, don't say anything.
And it's actually mandatory counseling. And if you've been traumatized, do you really want your employer mandating that you must go to counseling before you can go to mediation?
So now the Senate is working on mandatory sexual harassment training in the Senate. The House still hasn't really been able to push through changes. I know Congresswoman Speier, who I usually don't agree with on much, but she's right on this. They want to get rid of that wait time for being able to push through and actually file an actual complaint.
But Laura, you know, in the Reformation or the amendment to this legislation on both sides, you've got to make it uncomfortable for bad behavior. You have to be intentional about it. One of the most shocking things you led with was that the public tax dollars are paying for these settlements.
$15 million.
Exactly. It's about $1 million a year, a little less than $1 million a year. And you know what? If you remove that rule and made the congressmen either get employment defense insurance or made them pay out of their campaign PAC funds and stuff, I tell you, you would force a lot less of this bad behavior because that hits them where their pockets are.
I have a question. There was a point in this research that I was reading today that apparently a congresswoman was warning about the congressmen who sleep in their offices. Like those are the ones you have to. I mean, I don't know if that's fair because I know some who sleep in there. They're great people,
Right.
But apparently that's a problem. What is really going on here, though? Like, what is it just the usual stuff where you get into a position of power? Maybe you were kind of a geeky guy in high school or college.
Right.
You didn't really have a lot of chicks, and then you get to Capitol Hill. It's all these 22-year-old gals running around, and this is nothing new. I mean, I remember being in the White House elevator during the Reagan administration, and Strom Thurmond made a few interesting comments to me, and that, I was 22 years old, and I just was like laughing at it. It's not a big deal, but you also don't want to chill the workplace either. That's another thing I am a little bit worried about here, where you can't even say to someone, oh, you look great, nice dress. Like, people are afraid. I know now men who are afraid to have any interaction at any time with a woman alone because 10 years later, even if you didn't do anything, you can be accused of something. Then where do you go to defend yourself? You can't defend yourself. So we have to look at the other side here as well and not make it so sterile and antiseptic a workplace that no one even enjoys the job. You're so afraid of saying anything.
Right. Well, you always have to be careful because the plaintiff's bar has made it that way. The reality, though, is that women are standing up now in the last 6 months to a year and saying, me too. And I think that's the difference because as you see each of these industries go with these disclosures, whether it's Hollywood or some other industry, now you're seeing the government. And now if the government who enforces and makes laws, if they won't lead on this, then I got to tell you, we're in the space of the hypocrisy bucket, if you will.
Grassley said it's, if this law isn't working, you should revise it, change it. I mean, I guess after the Packwood thing, they thought this was actually going to accomplish something. But why did it take so long for this to get so much notice? It's just Harvey Weinstein and all the other stuff swirling around. I guess it's just what people are talking about. So now, like, okay, Congress, what are you doing?
Yeah, I think that may be some of it, and now we're getting a little bit of light shed on it. Until a week and a half ago, I didn't even know this fund existed. But I tell you what, it's intimidating. If you're a woman who truly has been harassed by a member of Congress, you need to be able to address that and to have it handled, not be told you must go to counseling, you must go to mediation, we're going to have you sign an NDA, you can never tell anyone. It's all designed to shame the woman. Whether they intend to or not, you wind up shaming the victim. And I understand also you've got to make sure.
Harvey Weinstein went around trying to get non-disclosures too, right?
Yeah.
Well, he paid a lot of money also.
He paid a lot of money.
Well,
and let's not forget, men and young boys have been
victimized here.
Abused, and oftentimes this happens in Hollywood, but not only Hollywood. It happens in the theater. And I've been hearing about this for a long time. We're talking about Congress because we're here in Washington and they're the ones supposed to be the lawmakers, but this is across the board, and it's people in positions of power who usually have some problem within themselves. They're either they have no self-esteem, or their father didn't love them. I don't know what it is, but they don't know how to treat people, and maybe, just maybe, we'll learn how to treat people better.
Well, that transparency that transparency that we're talking about, and Congresswoman Spire's talking about, is going to make it uncomfortable. This is a place of power. Careers are made or lost, and so you've got to make it a safe space for women and men who are victimized by sexual harassment to come forward, to be protected, and quite frankly, if there is transparency, I think you'd see less bad behavior.
There are people who make false charges. That does happen. And you can't just say anyone who makes a charge, you know, we're going to throw laurels around your neck. I mean, it's not necessarily the case. I mean, you do have a presumption of innocence. And sometimes I think in this climate, it's so white hot. I'm not talking about Roy Moore. I'm talking just in general. It's so white hot that if a woman who seems fairly credible makes a charge, your career's over. Yeah, you know, your career's over.
You have to allow people, if you've been accused of it, you have to be given the opportunity to defend yourself and to clear your name. And you can't just try everything in the court of public opinion. There has to be a proper process.
And is that where the confidentiality comes into play? Well, I mean, are you going to go into Congress and have all these interns running around if you think that, my gosh, at any moment, you know, I open the door for someone, or I'm going to be accused of being demeaning or you got to be careful how you do this, because you could go way overboard on the other side.
But one way to address that issue is, as a former sex crimes prosecutor, we would require corroboration. I mean, the cases where it's one person's word against another, there's no scientific evidence, there's no corroboration whether there was more than a sexual touching or not, it still has to be corroborated. And I think that standard would be good in Congress, too, because then you'd have that balance, if you will, because the congressmen want to get reelected, okay? They don't want bad press, and they don't want to have to go defend their conduct.
I have a question about that with the sex crimes. In how many cases, where it's usually men, of course, are accused of sex crimes, domestic abuse, is substance abuse involved? How often?
You know what? Quite a bit. I mean, you're testing my memory, but I would say not the majority, but at least over 50%.
Really, not the majority, I would say.
Well, over 50%. I just don't know how much. But there are other socioeconomic factors that come into play. And the other thing is getting women to come forward and prosecute if the father and the husband is the top breadwinner or is needed at home with the kids. I got to tell you, some women in that position just don't feel like they have many choices, and they drop charges against the very people who have abused them.
Well, and a lot of times abuse is simply about power. It's not about substance abuse. It's not even about sex. It's about power, raw power.
You guys, great to see you. Thanks for coming in tonight.
Thank you.
And directly ahead, new fallout in the Roy Moore scandal. How will Alabama voters deal with Washington meddling in the state Senate race? Plus, Roy Moore just addressed this controversy moments ago. We'll play you the tape.
I take pictures of sunrises, but with my back pain, I couldn't sleep and get up in time. Then I found Aleve PM.
Aleve PM is the only one to combine a safe sleep aid plus the 12-hour pain-relieving strength of Aleve.
I'm back.
Aleve PM for a better AM.
Now you can have everything. One of America's safest crossovers, well-equipped for under $24,000. Get $3,000 cash back and make no payments for 90 days or 0% for 84 months.
Progressive is America's #1 motorcycle insurer.
Yeah, she does purr. Best bike I ever owned.
No, you're never alone, because our claims reps are available 24/7. We even cover accessories and custom parts.
We did get an early start. Took the kids to soccer practice.
You want me to jump that cactus? All right.
Of heart failures and returns peace and harmony to your family and your marriage. This fantastic wireless headset elevates hard-to-hear words, making accents, even whispers, understandable. Now your family can watch TV with you or mute the TV volume for complete quiet. Why don't you call the number on your screen? Get the original TV ears, normally $129.95, for just $59.95, plus a free 5-year limited warranty, all for just $59.95. Call the number on your screen. Start enjoying TV again. You're going to love TV ears.
I'm the only one that can unite Democrats and Republicans. because I seem to be opposed by both. They've spent over $30 million trying to take me out.
Those comments from Roy Moore just moments ago after an eventful and chaotic day in the Alabama Senate race. The Republican National Committee has announced it is withdrawing support for Judge Moore's candidacy and pulling out of a joint fundraising agreement for the Alabama special Senate election. And this is all in response to multiple allegations now that Moore had made unwanted sexual advances toward teenagers back in the 70s. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is even floating the idea of Attorney General Jeff Sessions returning to his old Senate seat.
The Alabamian who would, fit that standard would be the Attorney General, who's totally well known and extremely popular in Alabama. I've spoken with the president. He called me from Vietnam largely about this on Friday. I talked to General Kelly on Saturday and the Vice President yesterday. Obviously, we're in discussion here about how to salvage this seat if possible.
But it's not all bad news for Judge Moore. Alabama Republican Party Chairwoman Terry Lathan has not turned on Moore yet and told local media yesterday, quote, "It would be a serious error for any current elected GOP official or candidate to publicly endorse another party's candidate, an independent or a third-party candidate or a write-in candidate in a general election as well," close quote. And a new poll from Fox 10 in Alabama shows Moore leads his Democratic opponent, Doug Jones, by 6 points. Joining us now for reaction in Birmingham is Alabama's Secretary of State John Merrill, in New York, conservative commentator Monica Crowley, and here with me in Washington is Catherine Mangu Ward, who's editor-in-chief of Reason magazine. Great to see all of you. Monica, let's start with you. This has been a wild few days on this Roy Moore situation. You got the establishment types turned on him pretty fast, but then you had Mike Lee in Utah, senator from Utah. You had Ted Cruz, and now my colleague Sean Hannity says basically you have 24 hours to clear up the discrepancies in your statements. How can Roy Moore possibly hang in under these circumstances?
I'm not sure he can, Laura. I mean, there's certain political realities at play here, and gravity does tend to kick in, especially when the money starts to disappear. The RNC pulled the funding as well as the field operation that they were going to implement to get out the vote for Roy Moore. With those two things missing, Laura, I don't see how he's able to survive. It doesn't sound tonight like he's willing to go anywhere yet, but when these realities start to kick in over the next 24 hours, when the money disappears, you can't run a campaign on fumes or love. That, I think, is when the hard choices are going to come in front of Roy Moore, when he doesn't have the institutional support to continue this campaign.
Let's go to the Secretary of State, John Merrill. John, what happens if the election is held and those absentee ballots are left over if, in fact, Roy Moore steps aside, the party relinquishes any connection to Roy Moore? Do the absentee ballots still count in that case?
Well, Laura, they do, and I think it's very important for your viewers to note that our people have been voting since October the 18th. That's when the absentee ballots first went out for consideration and for our voters to be able to have their opinion known and have their voice heard. And that's not just the UOCAVA military overseas voters, that's a number of voters throughout the entire state of Alabama. I think it's important to note that if Judge Moore withdraws from the campaign, or if the state party disavows their association with Judge Moore and determines that they no longer support him, and both of those actions have to take place formally by them indicating to our office that they no longer wish to pursue the candidacy of Judge Roy Moore in the U.S. Senate, that even though Judge Moore's name will still be on the ballot, if he gets the most votes as a plurality winner on December the 12th, then our election will be null and void.
Catherine, now Mitch McConnell is saying perhaps they won't seat him, or that once he's if he gets elected, indeed gets elected, that they'll move to remove him. Now, if you're someone in the South and, you maybe haven't followed this much and maybe think Roy Moore like dating 17-year-olds or 18-year-olds, it might come across to you as this is the old guard telling the Southerners they're stupid bunch of yahoo hayseed types, and they might just be like, something, he's seated, this is just another example of the elites kicking people like us around.
I mean, I think this is Congress reaping the fact that they are wildly unpopular. Congress has like a 19% approval rating.
That high?
I know. It sounds almost.
I don't think so.
And the idea that they don't have the trust of the American people, that they are not in a position to say, hey, this is an extraordinary circumstance. We want to take the high road here. We want to do an investigation. I would love to see them do an investigation through a trusted third party. They don't have to take the Washington Post word for it. They don't even have to believe the Oppo research if that's what they think is going on. But I do think they need to take it seriously, particularly if they want to say, listen, we're better than the Democratic Party, who's constantly apologizing for their guys when they get accused of this kind of thing.
Yeah, well, Monica, need we go back to the Menendez trial? And, we might have a deadlock situation there now, but there was a time where there were allegations, and Daily News and a lot of publications went with them, that, allegedly he took trips to the Dominican Republic and had, relationships, sexual in nature, with underage hookers. I don't recall a single Democrat calling for his resignation. Same thing with the old story about Barney Frank all those years ago, and many others. So, the Democrats seem to cover for their own, but I guess the Republicans, they want to come across looking a lot better than that.
Well, Democrats have always circled the wagons and protected their candidates and protected their presidents and protected their own for a really long time. And Republicans always went into the circular firing squad, Laura. But I think what makes these cases so different right now is that we are in a completely different cultural moment with all of these stories of sexual harassment coming out of Hollywood and the media elite, the modeling world, the music world, and so on, that given this moment, these folks cannot survive it. And even folks at the high end in the leadership of both parties and both establishments, et cetera, are now no longer saying that this is acceptable and are less willing, Laura, to cover for these folks. And you're seeing it now happening on both sides. And that's why I think in the Roy Moore situation, in many ways, he is going to be a casualty of this moment. And whereas perhaps he may have survived. Look, Donald Trump, in the tail end of the campaign with the Access Hollywood tape, he was able to sort of harness a boomerang effect where people felt that was a pile-on and they came out and rallied around him. But Donald Trump was an exceptional figure, and I'm not so sure that Roy Moore is going to be able to do it. That's right.
Moore is not Donald Trump. Secretary of State, I just want to just close out with you. In your estimation right now, I know you're still kind of standing behind Roy Moore. Does he stay in this race, and does he get elected?
Well, I think it would be highly unusual for Judge Moore to step aside. That would be against every type of example that he has set. I don't see him getting out of the race.
Does he win?
Party of, well, I'll tell you, it's going to be extremely close, Laura. And I hear mixed reviews all around the state of Alabama. This is a very disconcerting time for our state, and this is not the way we like to be featured in the national limelight, I assure you.
No, I can't imagine. Thanks for joining us, John. And I'm going to hold over Catherine and Monica because President Trump, just a short time ago, returned to Washington after that very long 12-day, 5-nation Asia trip where America's trade deals were a major topic. And I guess we're going to go right to it right now.
Very proud of it. From a standpoint of security and safety, military, very proud, and trade, you will see numbers that you won't believe over the years. Because over a period of years, they will be treating us much differently than they have in the past. People were taking advantage, countries were taking advantage of the United States, more than just this region, but the world. And those days are over. We're going to be fair. We're going to be reciprocal. As I said in my remarks before, we will be reciprocal, meaning if they're doing it, we're doing it.
Catherine, what did you think about this trip? Give us your assessment.
So my overall assessment is I'm glad that the president didn't do anything that isn't fundamentally reversible, that is something that can't be papered over later, because there was a real risk that he was going to make good on his campaign promises, go to Asia, and just light the whole thing on fire.
What do you mean?
Well, he's been quite clear that he doesn't like the status quo in terms of U.S. trade agreements in Asia. And
you like the status quo?
I like the status quo.
Which part of $360 billion trade deficit do you like?
I'd like more to have more trade. I'd like to have more open open trade. I think the idea of thinking about it in terms of deficits is wrong-headed. We absolutely benefit from trading with other countries.
Because you can buy a $7.99 pair of pants?
Absolutely.
And so to hell with the American workers back here, it doesn't matter?
A $7.99 pair of pants really
to
benefits
fundamentally change the country?
I don't think it fundamentally changes the country. We're a country founded on
free trade. You don't have a problem with our enriching...
Founded on...
Every president, almost every president put in effect tariffs. Republican presidents, Democrat presidents,
and
Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, Ronald Reagan.
When their goal was to get a kind of one-upsmanship on other nations.
You don't think America should have a one-upsmanship attitude toward other nations?
No, I think we should have a cooperative attitude, and I think if they want to sell us stuff, we should be allowed to buy it.
But you don't think bilateral trade agreements are better for policing them and for making sure they're actually enforced? What's wrong with that?
I would take any trade agreements. What I don't want to see is us pulling back from the world at a time that we are anxious and we are not necessarily going to make the right decision about what's right for workers and for
I see what Catherine's saying, but I don't see any indication, frankly, that Donald Trump is pulling back from the rest of the world. My gosh, he went to Saudi Arabia, Israel, went to see the Pope, did the trip to Europe. He's gone to Asia. I mean, I think his foreign trips, frankly, have been pretty successcill, especially the trip to visit our NATO allies and the first trip to Saudi Arabia. And I think this trip turned out great. I don't get the grousing about this.
I totally agree, Laura. And I think, in some ways he's much more effective when he's abroad rather than at home. His speeches abroad have been absolutely magnificent. And what he was able to accomplish on this Asia trip has been quite extraordinary. What we're hearing is behind closed doors, this president applied a lot of pressure on the Chinese leadership. And there were two main issues that he was there to discuss. We're talking about trade and the structural trade imbalance with the Chinese that has been in place now for decades and it's going to be incredibly difficult to reverse. But what the president is saying is, look, I need to deal with this structural trade imbalance. I'm going to do it via economic and trade policy tools and instruments.
And he also turned up the heat, Monica, on North Korea and told the Chinese, we need your help. We need real help. And yet we're not going to be patsies on the trade deal. We want to work with other nations. We want to trade with them. We want to have relationships with them.
That's right.
Apparently the only country, the only country we can't have a relationship with is Russia. Because the Chinese communists are great, but the Russians are the worst. So every time someone says we should do more with China, I say, okay. Then why shouldn't we work more with Russia? Because of Bob Mueller, I guess.
And to that point, Laura, what the president was able to do, and we'll see whether this really bears fruit. But what was so effective is he coupled the North Korean cooperation on North Korea with the economic policies.
All right, both of you, we could talk forever about this. Thank you so much for joining us. And when we return, Jeff Sessions grilled on Capitol Hill today, and a special counsel may be appointed to investigate Hillary Clinton. Really? Stay tuned.
What's it going to take, if all that, not to mention the dossier information, what's it going to take to actually get a special counsel?
Liberty Mutual saved us almost $800 when we switched our auto and home insurance.
With Liberty, we could afford a real babysitter instead of your brother. Oh, that's my robe.
Is it? You could save $782 when Liberty stands with you. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
When you have moderate to severe ulcerative colitis, the unpredictability of a flare may weigh on your mind. Thinking about what to avoid, where to go, and how to work around your UC. That's how I thought it had to be. But then I talked to my doctor about Humira and learned Humira can help get and keep UC under control when certain medications haven't worked well enough.
Humira can lower your ability to fight infections, including tuberculosis. Serious, sometimes fatal infections and cancers, including lymphoma, have happened, as have blood.
Committed 2% cash back on every purchase I make. Everything. What's in your wallet?
Yeah, so Mom's got this cold. Hashtag stuffy nose. Hashtag no sleep. I got it. Hashtag mouth breather.
Yep, we've got a mouth breather. Well, just put on a Breathe Right strip and pow! It instantly opens your nose up to 38% more than cold medicine alone. So you can breathe and sleep. Go to breatheright.com today to request a free sample.
Welcome back. As we've been reporting, after years of rumors, comedian Louis C.K. has finally admitted to sexual misconduct. In the fallout, CK was dropped from performing at Jon Stewart's annual Night of Too Many Stars. It's a charity event which benefits autism programs. Stewart, a longtime friend of CK's, was out promoting the event today. Throughout his entire career, remember, Louis C.K. told filthy, disgusting sexual jokes, touching on his own proclivities. Yet Jon Stewart offered this response when questioned on the Today Show.
What was the impact on you when you heard not only the accusations, but his admission?
Stunned, I think. You know, you give your friends a benefit of the doubt.
You were stunned about the accusations and revelations? Really, John? I heard the man's act for 3 minutes and knew he was a total perv. Comedians joked about his habits for years, and rumors of his misdeeds have been reported since back in 2012. So I guess Mr. Daly Show wasn't as well informed as we all thought. The only thing I can support is his autism fundraiser, which is great. And as for Louis C.K., he was dealt another setback today. International distributors announced that they were joining their American counterparts and dropping distribution of his latest movie, I Love You, Daddy, which is another filthy thing. And I'm sure it'll be available on his website soon, so all the dirty old men who chase underage girls can have a good laugh. What a degenerate. Attorney General Jeff Sessions was in the hot seat today, testifying before the House Judiciary Committee. Republicans wanted to know why the Justice Department hasn't investigated Hillary Clinton scandals. And as for the Democrats, surprise, surprise, they spent their time focusing on Mr. Sessions' past statements about meetings with, wait for it, Russians, and his private conversations with President Trump.
You made statements that he did, in fact, at the meeting. I pushed back. You know that. I can't be able to be put in a position where I can't explain.
I'm asking you.
I'm not going to be able to answer if I can't answer completely.
Did Donald Trump ever ask you to pledge an oath of loyalty to him?
No.
If Donald Trump were to ask you to pledge loyalty to him or to take such an oath, would you do so?
Well, I don't know what a pledge of a loyalty oath is. I met with the ambassador in my office with at least 2 of my staff, senior respected patriots, colonels retired in the Army,
and Mr. Attorney
nothing
General,
improper occurred at all.
Once and for all, can we answer the question?
I am once and for all answering the question, Congressman. I don't understand why you won't take my answer.
Joining us now for reaction is a member of that House Judiciary Committee, Andy Biggs, a Republican from Arizona. I often think about, what I would do if I remember Congress and I had to be at these hearings, Congressman. But this kind of took the cake. I mean, Jeff Sessions sitting there, and basically every 5 seconds from a Democrat, you're basically lying. Senator Sessions, Attorney General Sessions, you really met with the Russians. Are you really part of the collusion? Give us a sense inside that room today.
No, you're exactly right. So it showed the stark difference between the Republicans who are trying to get the Attorney General to do something, appoint a special counsel to investigate, and the Democrats who they're fixated on trying to paint him as some kind of lying colluder with Russia. I mean, with no evidence. It's just amazing to me.
And by the way, we invited Sheila Jackson Leon, but apparently she was involved in a late night briefing on the tax reform bill. So maybe they're going to come all along with you guys on tax reform.
It could happen.
Yeah. So and we invited a bunch of other Democrats because he wanted to have both sides on the show tonight. So I have to say that. Let's talk about that flashpoint today, and then we'll play the soundbite. This was Congressman Jim Jordan, who was on with us last night. And I think this was probably the most interesting moment at today's hearing. Let's listen.
If you're now just considering, what's it going to take to get a special counsel? We know that former FBI Director James Comey misled the American people in the summer of 2016 when he called the Clinton investigation a matter. It's obviously an investigation.
It will take a factual basis that meets the standards of the appointment of a special counsel.
That's what it looks like. And I'm asking you, doesn't that warrant, in addition to all the things we know about James Comey in 2016, doesn't that warrant naming a second special counsel?
Looks like is not enough basis to appoint a special counsel.
What's your sense here? Are you on the special counsel bandwagon on this? Because there's an argument against special counsel that I find fairly persuasive.
In this case, I am, because you've got an attorney general that's kind of left it away. He's stepped away from it, and we have to get to the bottom of this. That we know that there's conflicts of interest all in that AG's office. So we need a special prosecutor, special counsel, in my opinion. I think Jim's right. We've been waiting for a long time, and yesterday we get the notice saying, "Hey, we're considering it," after months of us asking.
Don't you think that looks kind of like a tit for tat? I mean, we got the Mueller investigation of Trump. Then it looks like, to some people, that President Trump is pressuring Congress to do a special counsel to go after Hillary and Clinton Foundation, Uranium One. And Jeff Sessions really isn't recused, I don't think, from anything involving Hillary Clinton. He's recused himself from anything involving the Russian investigation. But I think he's well within his right in this case to appoint a terrific prosecutor with a great team of assistant prosecutors to do this job. And then you won't have this sprawling investigation that goes on and on forever, frankly, wastes the taxpayers' dollars. And I don't think it's necessary in this case. Sessions can just appoint a great prosecutor and do the real investigation. Why do you need a whole merry band of prosecutors waste our money?
Well, I think you're right in the sense that Jeff Sessions could. But look who his chief deputies are. You got Ron Rosenstein, you've got Andrew McCabe, Rod, and you've got Andrew McCabe still in that office influencing things. And I think walking away today, I think many of if it doesn't take one, fine.
Congressman Biggs, great to see you, as
Thank
always.
you.
And for more analysis, let's bring in two top legal experts from Columbia, South Carolina, Saul Weisenberg, who was Ken Starr's deputy in the investigations into Bill Clinton scandals, and here in Washington, Joe DeGenova, former U.S. attorney in Washington, D.C. All right, gentlemen, take it away. Let's talk first about the idea of a special counsel. Andy McCarthy in National Review, I think, makes a compelling case that in this issue of Uranium One or the Clinton Foundation, Hillary's emails, that a line prosecutor, a well-respected prosecutor, could actually handle this case well. Joe.
Yeah, clearly this does not require a special counsel. I agree with Andy 100%. And there's ample predicate factual information for an investigation right now for a grand jury based on the Clinton Foundation, the $500,000 to the president during the consideration of Uranium One, $145 million to the Clinton Foundation, everything involving all the things that you've listed, especially the email server involving Mrs. Clinton. There's no doubt that the standard Justice Department Criminal Division can handle this. There's no need for a special counsel. And by the way, what I found fascinating about the Attorney General's answer today was he said when there's a sufficient factual predicate for a special counsel. Guess what? There's no factual predicate for Robert Mueller. There's been no crime ever announced that he was investigating. So, I mean, to me, if you were going to do a special counsel, you can do it if you want to. I would give it to the Criminal Division in Main Justice and let them run with it. There's plenty of predicate, lots of information.
Saul, look, with all your experience with Ken Starr's investigation, you know how these things start. They start as one thing. They become something much bigger. And in the case of it, we don't have an independent counsel now. The statute's expired, but we can still appoint special counsels. In this case, with all the questions now about how they were trying to influence and stop witnesses from testifying before Congress, the shady dealings with the briberies and kickbacks involved with that Uranium One. I mean, uranium, 20% to the Russians. I mean, I think anyone off the street would say that was a crazy idea.
Well, let's focus on whether or not a special counsel would be appropriate, and I disagree with Joe on this. I think, first of all, the special counsel regulation is relatively vague. It says if there's a conflict of interest or extraordinary circumstances. Here you have President Trump, who has repeatedly called for his Justice Department to investigate this issue, and we're just talking about Uranium One here. I'm not talking about Fusion GPS, because I think that's already within Mueller's bailiwick. But President Trump has said you need to investigate, you need to investigate. So on the one hand, if Sessions says I'm going to find somebody within DOJ to do it, the Democrats are going to cry foul and say this is outrageous, you're doing this for political reasons. On the other hand, if Sessions takes a look at it and says I don't think there's anything there, the people on the right are going to scream and say, well, that's because Rod Rosenstein's involved and he was U.S. attorney in Maryland when some of this stuff took place. So I think there are extraordinary circumstances. You can have a lot of the stuff running around about the Uranium One investigation. We don't know if it's true or not true. I think you appoint an honest broker who is special counsel, who is well respected. It's by no means automatic that they'll expand it. Senator Danforth didn't expand his investigation into Waco. He kept it very limited. I just think I understand what you're saying. I understand what Joe is saying. These investigations can get out of hand.
Oh, it goes for years.
Here,
Lawrence Walsh, how long did that go, Saul? Was that 7 years?
That's true, but
oh
here,
my gosh.
the president, like he has in so many situations, unfortunately, by opening his mouth, has made things much more difficult for Jeff Sessions.
Yeah, it's better for him just to hang back. Yeah, I agree with that. I think we all probably agree with that. That it's better for the president not to comment on ongoing investigations in general. Joe, you agree?
Yeah, that would be good. By the way, if Jeff Sessions wants to appoint a special counsel, it's okay with me. My point is very simple. The uranium, the Clinton Foundation, all the kickbacks require an investigation. There is now existing a sufficient predicate for a federal grand jury. There has been one for more than 4 years in existence. I don't give a damn who investigates it. It needs to be investigated.
It's great to have you both on, Saul and Joe. Thanks so much. And when we come back, ICE agents are now up in arms. Why they say Obama-era holdovers are causing havoc and even putting agents' lives at risk. Next.
This program is brought to you by Jaguar, the art of performance.
Merry Christmas.
Why are there so many miles on it?
What?
For great offers, visit your local Jaguar retailer during the Unwrap a Jaguar sales event.
Our members, they get it done in as little as 1 day. Plus, they provide a lifetime guarantee. Thanks to Bathfitter, I have a bathtub I love.
Call today or learn more at bathfitter.com.
This is where you're wide awake, but it feels like a dream, where you can roam endlessly, walk on water, or under it, where life expresses itself as an endless flow of energy, where there's only one question: are you ready? Atlantis, Bahamas at heart.
Book by November 30th for the best winter rates at 1-800-ATLANTIS or AtlantisBahamas.com.
Welcome back. In a surprising move, the union that represents ICE officers has launched a new website claiming that President Trump has, quote, betrayed them. The National ICE Council endorsed Donald Trump in the 2016 election, but the group is now upset that the Trump administration has been really slow to reverse the policies of the Obama years. A post on the website reads, in part, quote, while officers view the president's position on enforcement as courageous, the Trump administration has left all of the Obama managers and leadership in place. Tensions are on the rise between Trump's army and Obama holdovers. So joining us now for reaction from Orlando, David Ward, a board member of the National Association of Former Border Patrol Officers, and here in Washington, Stephen Dinan, a reporter with the Washington Times who wrote about this today. Stephen, this is odd, but it's something we've heard about in other departments. What is the percentage of Obama holdovers still working within Immigration Customs Enforcement?
Yeah, so the ICE Council didn't say the number, and they actually didn't even name names. They left it vague for now, but they went through a number of different issues. The website is the website's actually fascinating. Not only does it give this sort of overall sense for the Obama holdovers, it gives a whole bunch of different specific examples of where those are having an effect, including an incident in Philadelphia where ICE officers who went into a very bad neighborhood of Philadelphia were told they had to remove their bulletproof vests to go make an arrest because it would offend the community where they were going into.
It offends them, David. It offends the ICE officers, does it not, when they get shot because they're not wearing a bulletproof vest for fear that it will offend, I guess, one of the illegal immigrants? I mean, what are we talking about here? This is insanity.
It is insanity. We've lost over 162 immigration agents killed in the line of duty. And for a manager to come up with an order such as that to take off their bulletproof vests because they're going into a neighborhood is absolutely insane. In fact, that manager or those people involved in that should be removed from their office for incompetency.
And do we have any idea, David, how many Obama holdovers are clogging the, the administration here at the Immigration's Custom Enforcement? I mean, the website is very fuzzy on this. We don't know how many. Is it 12? Is it 500? I mean, what are we talking about?
Well, the Trump administration has been in office for 11 months now, and the swamp is pretty big and it's vast within the federal government. It's going to take time to weed out those that are sworn to their office as the oath that they took, those that have sworn to the globalism which brought us sanctuary cities and lack of enforcement of Title VIII, and it's going to take a while to weed those people out.
Stephen, let's talk about how the priorities of President Trump and Obama do differ. Whether you have the right people in place, that's infuriating, but I remember the ICE officers during Obama's 2 terms. The morale was horribly low because they wanted to do their job and they were held back.
Yeah, no, and there's no question. In fact, I think there's not a single department and probably not a single agency other than ICE where there's been as big a change in the culture between the Obama administration and the Trump administration. As you look, we actually did calculations. Under the Obama administration, upwards of 80% of illegal immigrants were put out of bounds for deportation because of the priorities that the previous administration set out. Now the number is probably closer to only about 1 million. Basically, DACA recipients are the folks who are put completely out of bounds, and the rest of the 11 million illegal immigrants are at least potential targets for deportation. It's made a huge difference for those ICE officers that we were talking about, and they'll admit they're thrilled with that sort of the overall direction that they're getting from President Trump. The issue is that the actual specific decisions, such as the Philadelphia one we talked about, there's a case out of Utah where they are told they have to give heads up before they go into the community. In some cases, 7 days heads up before they go out to make arrests. Lo and behold, when they finally get there, the illegal immigrants they're targeting have been tipped off and have basically fled. So those are the sorts of specifics that they would like to get cleaned up. But they absolutely appreciate the difference in the top-down direction.
David, I remember a couple of years back when the Border Patrol is different from the ICE officers, but the Border Patrol under Obama were told that they couldn't shoot at a vehicle that was attempting to run them down. That was one of the other crazy things. And again, here they are. They don't make a lot of money. They're trying to do their job. It's very dangerous, and oftentimes they're in very remote areas. But in other cases, they're actually being targeted by the illegal immigrants who are trying to get into the country. Oh, because they're all valedictorians, I know that. But they're trying to get into the country, and I guess the ICE officers just have to jump out of the way and hope for the best. Or the Border Patrol officers.
Under the 8 years of the previous administration, immigration enforcement became probably the most dysfunctional I'd seen it in 34 years of working for the agency enforcing immigration law. Now, when Trump came into office, the apprehension rate went up 37% in the first 4 months by these agents being allowed to do their jobs that they took an oath to do. And now we need to get the managers in there that are going to back these men up under the same guidelines by standing up for their oath that they took and follow the law. Title VIII is very clear. Trump has been criticized about creating things when in fact he hasn't. It's the immigration law that's been on the books from day one. The Democrats, the previous administration, refused to go by it. Jay Johnson was loath to even read the book, let alone let the guys go out and do their jobs. So we have an administration now. I would say that it's going to take a little bit of time to clean out the swamp like he's been trying to do. But another thing, he's faced with the obstruction of Congress and the Senate on getting his appointees into office.
I got to get. I mean, Stevens, we're out of time on that, but he has to get his people in place. He's not going to eliminate all the positions. He has to get his people in place. He's being undercut, by the way, at that climate event.
If you have moderate to severe plaque psoriasis, isn't it time to let the real you shine through? Maybe it's time for Otezla, a Premolast. Otezla is not an injection or a cream. It's a pill that treats plaque psoriasis differently. With Otezla, 75% clearer skin is achievable after just 4 months, with reduced redness, thickness, and scaliness of plaques. And the Otezla prescribing information has no requirement for routine lab monitoring. Don't use if you're allergic to Otezla. Otezla may cause severe diarrhea, nausea, or vomiting. Tell your doctor if these occur. Otezla is associated with an increased risk of depression. Tell your doctor if you have a history of depression or suicidal thoughts, or if these feelings develop. Some people taking Otezla reported weight loss. Your doctor should monitor your weight and may stop treatment. Other side effects include upper respiratory tract infection and headache. Tell your doctor about all the medicines you take and if you're pregnant or planning to be. Ask your dermatologist about Otezla today. Otezla, show more of you.
It's easy to think that all money managers are pretty much the same. But while some push high commission investment products, Fisher Investments avoids them. Some advisors have hidden and layered fees. Fisher Investments never does. And while some advisors are happy to earn commissions from you, whether you do well or not, Fisher Investments fees are structured so we do better when you do better. Maybe that's why most of our clients come from other money managers. Fisher Investments, clearly better money management.
Now you can have everything.
We wanted
The 2017 Mitsubishi Outlander with standard third-row seating, one of America's safest crossovers. Well equipped for under $24,000. Get $3,000 cash back and make no payments for 90 days or 0% for 84 months.
Whether it's new business or new romance, these are the designer moments. Now at Men's Warehouse, save up to 60% on designer suits, plus buy one, get one free on select items. This November, join Men's Warehouse in donating to fight men's health issues.
With 5 times more ethnic regions, Ancestry DNA can pinpoint where your ancestors are from and the paths they took to a new home. Could their journey inspire yours? Order your kit at AncestryDNA.com.
He's a NASCAR champion who's faced thousands of drivers. She's a world-class swimmer who stared down the best in her sport. But for both of them, the most challenging opponent was
PE blood clots in my lung. It was really scary.
A DVT in my leg.
I had to learn all I could to help protect myself.
My doctor and I chose Xarelto.
Xarelto, to help keep me protected.
Xarelto is a latest generation blood thinner that's proven to treat and reduce the risk of DVT and PE blood clots from happening again. In clinical studies, almost 98% of patients on Xarelto did not experience another DVT or PE.
Here's how Xarelto works.
Xarelto works differently. Warfarin interferes with at least 6 blood clotting factors. Xarelto is selective, targeting just one critical factor interacting with less of your body's natural blood clotting function. Don't stop taking Xarelto without talking to your doctor, as this may increase risk of blood clots. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. It may increase your risk of bleeding if you take certain medicines. Xarelto can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Get help right away for unexpected bleeding, unusual bruising, or tingling. If you've had spinal anesthesia, watch for back pain or any nerve or muscle-related signs or symptoms. Do not take Xarelto if you have an artificial heart valve or abnormal bleeding. Tell your doctor before all planned medical or dental procedures and before starting Xarelto about any conditions such as kidney, liver, or bleeding problems.
You've got to learn all you can
to help protect yourself from DVT and PE blood clots. Talk to your doctor about Xarelto. There's more to know.
And before we go tonight, a quick reminder, check out my new book, Billionaire at the Barricades, because I take you through the immigration wars of the past 25 years between the populists and the old establishment. And as you just heard in our previous block, we are still fighting those same battles today. Amazing. That is it for us tonight. Shannon Bream and the Fox News at Night team takes things from here. Miss Shannon, where are you? I don't see you. She's not there.
Hi, can
Somewhere.
you hear me? Can you see me? We're here.
Oh, no, this is like a disembodied voice. I love that. Shannon's just in another studio somewhere, and I don't, she's like over there. No, over there.
Not
Where
far
is
away.
she?
Not far away. We're together in spirit, Laura. Great show tonight.
Have a great show.
Thank you. All right, here is what we're doing tonight. Tonight, Attorney General Jeff Sessions takes a grilling and vows to follow the law when it comes to investigating the Clintons and Uranium One.
That they will be done without political influence.
Is that enough for Republican Congressman Louis Gohmert, who believes the scandal has deep roots all over Washington? We'll ask him.
Bill Clinton had been a great voice for women in public and a great violator of women in private.
Why women are now going public. From the U.S. to Europe, the Harvey Weinstein effect taking down powerful men. And Republicans zero in on repealing Obamacare's individual mandates. Can they get it done? Congressman Dave Brat joins us live with the inside scoop on tax reform. Hello and welcome to Fox News at Night. I'm Shannon Bream in Washington. Attorney General Jeff Sessions in the hot seat today, taking a grilling from both the left and the right while addressing the possibility of a special counsel investigation into Clinton-related matters, including the Uranium One deal. That deal gave Russia nearly control of roughly 20% to that.
Yeah, well, Democrats like John Conyers were very direct in this hearing, charging that because of all of the president's tweets, his public comments about the person he calls Crooked Hillary needing to be investigated, and Sessions fearing for his job, Democrats say that's the real reason for the shift in focus, and the Attorney General flatly rejected the idea he's giving in to political pressure.
Should the President of the United States make public comments that might influence a pending criminal investigation?
Should take great care in those issues. I have not been improperly influenced and would not be improperly influenced.
But it's clear Sessions has gotten the message on something else that has been bothering the president. Sessions revealed today there are now 27, that's right, 27 open investigations into who leaked various pieces of classified information. The president and his advisors, you know, they've been talking about what they call the deep state leaks that have been undermining the White House. They are now at the Justice Department all over that tonight, Shannon.
That will make the president very happy,
Big
though
deal.
He's been frustrated on other points. All right, thanks so much, Ed.
See you.
All right, the topic matter at today's hearing was far more wide-ranging than just that. Included a whole host of questions from Democrats about perjury, presidential pressure, and supposed collusion with Russia in the run-up to the 2016 election. Ellison Barber joins us live with the rest of the story. Hello, Ellison.
Hi, Shannon. Yeah, as expected, Democrats peppered Sessions with questions about Russian contacts during the 2016 campaign, at times forcing Sessions to defend his integrity.
Once and for all, can we answer the question?
I am once and for all answering the question, Congressman.
You testified that your story has, quote, never changed. Is that correct?
We've added things that I did not recall at the time. And you're accusing me of lying about that? I say that's not fair, Mr. Jeffries.
Sessions adamantly maintained he did not lie to Congress when he said he was unaware of any communications between Trump campaign surrogates and the Russians. But that is what's at issue here. Inconsistencies between what Sessions previously told Congress and some things former campaign advisors are saying of late. There's Carter Page's testimony. Earlier this month, the former foreign policy advisor told the House Intelligence Committee he briefly spoke to Sessions about a trip he was taking to Russia. Sessions said today he doesn't doubt Page's story, but he doesn't remember it either. Then there's court documents released after another former campaign foreign policy advisor, George Papadopoulos, pled guilty to lying to the FBI. Those court documents say Papadopoulos suggested setting up a meeting between then-candidate Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin. Papadopoulos suggested it at a campaign national security meeting in March of 2016, a meeting led by Sessions. The Attorney General says he forgot about that meeting until he caught it in the news.
I have no clear recollection of the details of what he said at that meeting.
Sessions did remember some details. He claims he pushed back against Papadopoulos.
Did Mr. Papadopoulos mention his outreach to the Russian government during that meeting?
He made some comment to that effect, yes, as I remember after having read it in the newspaper.
I asked for yes or no. I don't have time.
Yes, all right.
There are reports that you shut George down, unquote, when he proposed that meeting with Putin. Is this correct, yes or no?
Yes. I pushed back.
When asked if he tried to prevent, quote, further outreach to the Russians after the meeting, Sessions told Congressman Nadler he was not aware of any further contacts and he did not have regular contact with Papadopoulos. Shannon?
All right, Ellis and Barbara, thank you very much. Well, GOP Congressman Louis Gohmert turned up the heat on the Attorney General today, raising serious concerns about Robert Mueller and Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, among others. He joins us now to talk about that and the special chart he had today, and you brought a copy with you. Good to see you, Congressman. Thanks for coming in.
Great to see you too, Shannon.
All right,
Great
listen, there are all kinds of things on here. Russia, IRS, President Obama, Hillary Clinton, all kinds of things.
All connected.
Right, and there's some critics today who went through this chart and they weren't too impressed. They didn't know why you threw in some other things like Huma Abedin and other. They didn't understand how that was all connected.
It is.
But you were really hard on the Attorney General because he took it from the left and the right today, and you want to see more from him. What is this all about?
Well, it's just that the more you get into this, the more clear it is. This should be the item that had a special prosecutor. And in fact, we ought to be looking at Mr. Mueller. We ought to be looking at Mr. Rosenstein because, Shannon, this is a motion to seal records. This is information about the deal with Russia, the effort of Russia to corner the market on uranium. And,
right, who's asking to seal them?
Pardon?
Who's asking to seal them?
Well, the name right there says Rod Rosenstein, and it has his assistant U.S. attorney, Adam Akey, that signed on his behalf.
Are you saying?
And they got I'm saying
you don't think they can be objective?
They were so involved in the initial investigation of Russia trying to corner the market that should have prevented Hillary Clinton from, and Eric Holder and others, from approving the sale of our uranium to Uranium One, and it ultimately with Russia. So with all the information they have and the sworn evidence they have sealed, I think they were knowing down the road if somebody goes back snooping and says you should never have allowed this uranium to be sold to Russia, gee, you had all this evidence. Well, they won't be able to see the evidence because they got a judge to seal it. And of course, Mueller was the FBI director that was involved in this investigation. So it is just, it's the biggest scandal that there's ever been in American history. It makes Teapot Dome look like just nothing but a whistle instead of a teapot.
So do you think that Mueller and Rosenstein need to step away from these investigations completely? Do you want a separate special counsel for different parts of the investigation?
Well,
what are you proposing?
One of the things that I liked what I heard today was Attorney General Jeff Sessions basically saying, well, there's part of this I think that I can investigate. And it sounds like, and I'm encouraged that Jeff, the Attorney General Sessions, is digging in himself. And we're now finding out, actually, they've been investigating some of this. But not only do I think that Mueller and Rosenstein need to step down, it appears they need to be investigated as well. And we know from the FBI, well, the regulations that control special counsel and counsel in general at the DOJ, you cannot investigate anything if, for example, you have a close friend that would be in the investigation. Comey's central all of this, and Comey's got to be investigated. He admitted that he leaked information to the New York Times, and it turns out there's, if you look at the FBI contract that he had to agree to, it's very clear the memorandum he did belongs to the FBI, and he leaked an official FBI document.
I don't think, and you probably don't think either, there's any reason or any way these gentlemen would step away from the duties they've been assigned and the roles they've been assigned. So that leaves us with talking about who could get rid of them. And you know there's so much talk that if the president stepped in and pushed them away, your Lindsey Graham over on the Senate side says it'd be holy hell to pay, that it's going to look terrible.
You're
just
exactly right.
Let them finish.
It's one of the things I love about you and your show. You cut right to the chase.
And we have great guests too.
Well, but Mueller has known that, and if you look at the actions he's taken, the very day James Comey testified on the Hill that there was no evidence at all of collusion between Donald Trump and the Russians, then there were people that were immediately screaming, hey, why do we need a special counsel? We don't. Mueller's got to go. So what happens? That night, Mueller, or one of those working for him, leaked out, I am now investigating Trump for obstruction of justice. I told the president, the reason that he leaked that out was so that you could not now fire him, as some people were advocating, because then it would appear like another Saturday Night Massacre. And gee, now we got to impeach Trump because he. So you, as I told you, you cannot fire him now because he set this up.
Right, the perception there would be a lot of trouble for the White House.
But we do need somebody to investigate Mueller, and as somebody starts investigating Mueller and they see the trail that Mueller has laid and left behind, including Mr. Rosenstein, then it will be very clear. It won't be the president asking them to step down. It'll be very clear they can't be investigating when they're a target.
Well, listen, we're going to need a little bit more time to continue investigating this, but we will, because people need to know. It's all connected. Congressman Gohmert, it's great to have you in.
Shannon, it's great to be with you.
Thanks for coming in. See you again soon.
Thank you.
All right, tonight, yet another pillar of support for Judge Roy Moore is crumbling. The Alabama Senate candidate fighting to fill Jeff Sessions' open seat. He's facing multiple accusations of sexual misconduct from women who say they were just teens when they claim these incidents occurred. Moore spoke a short while ago at a church in Jackson, and he's still defiant. We'll have more on that coming up in just a minute, but meanwhile, Jonathan Seri has more details now. The latest from Gadsden, Alabama. Hi, Jonathan.
Fox News sources say the Republican National Committee is pulling its national field staffers out of the Alabama Senate race. Meanwhile, filings with the Federal Election Commission no longer list the RNC on a joint fundraising agreement with the Moore campaign. And Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is calling on Moore to end his bid for the U.S. Senate.
Roy Moore should step aside. The women who've come forward are entirely credible. He's obviously not fit to be in the United States Senate.
Moore is firing back with a series of tweets directed at McConnell, including this one. Republican primary, strike one. Republican runoff, strike two. General election, TBD. 3 strikes and you're out, Mitch. Just days after the Washington Post reported allegations that Moore fondled a 14-year-old girl back in 1979 when he was 32, a new accuser has come forward. Beverly Young Nelson says she had just turned 16 when Moore, a frequent customer at the restaurant where she worked, offered her a ride home.
Mr. Moore reached over and began groping me, him putting his hands on my breast. I tried to open my car door to leave, but he reached over and he locked it so I could not get out.
I can tell you without hesitation, this is absolutely false. I never did what she said I did. I don't even know the woman. I don't know anything about her. I don't even know where the restaurant is or was.
Conventional wisdom suggests all the controversy will help Moore's opponent. Democrat Doug Jones has released a new commercial reaching out to Republican voters in Alabama.
Yep, I'm another Republican. I'm Steve Duncan. I want to be on the right side of history. That's why I'm voting for Doug Jones.
With no sign of Moore dropping out of the race anytime soon, he and Jones are scheduled to face off in the general election December 12. Shannon?
Jonathan Seri, thank you very much. Up next, more and more Democrats now publicly admitting they may have gotten it all wrong on President Bill Clinton and the numerous women who accused him of assaults, even rape. So what does it mean for the party if they follow through on their so-called real reckoning? An exclusive report next.
The young staffer, is a young woman, went there and was greeted with a member in a towel.
Voting a hush-hush congressional slush fund used to quietly get rid of sex harassment claims on Capitol Hill, and it's all funded by you, the taxpayer.
I take pictures of sunrises, but with my back pain, I couldn't sleep and get up in time. Then I found Aleve PM.
Aleve PM is the only one to combine a safe sleep aid plus the 12-hour pain-relieving strength of Aleve.
I'm
Aleve PM for a better AM.
This is where life expresses itself as an endless flow of energy. Are you ready?
Buy Corvin at these fine retailers.
Hi, so I just got off the phone with our Allstate agent, and I know that we have accident forgiveness. So the incredibly minor accident that I had tonight.
4 weeks without the car.
Okay, yep, good night.
With accident forgiveness, your rates won't go up just because of an accident.
switching to Allstate is worth it.
Men, after 40, you have a choice. Live with less drive and more fat, or get Ageless Male, the #1 best-selling testosterone booster. With over 4 million bottles sold. Ageless Male. More confidence, more libido, more testosterone.
Every weeknight.
All of a sudden, you're not allowed to ask sincere questions.
For unmatched insight, powerful opinion, and must-see debate, you have to watch Tucker Carlson Tonight, weeknights at 8.
I won this 55-inch TV for less than $30 on DealDash.com.
I got this $1,200 computer for $100.71.
These aren't actors, they're real people who got real savings at DealDash.com, the fair and honest bidding site.
On Deal Dash, I got this $349 mixer for less than $25.
iPads sell for as little as $5, laptops for $10, and professional cameras for as little as $20.
I won this iPhone for $8.48 at DealDash.com.
I got all this for less than $50 on DealDash.com.
Try Deal Dash today. If you don't win, get your money back, but hurry, everything must go. Go to DealDash.com now to start bidding.
In my first 4 months on Deal Dash, I won 104 auctions.
And shipping is always free.
Visit DealDash.com and start bidding today.
The renewed focus on sexual misconduct sweeping the nation, and particularly here in the nation's capital, has reporters and lawmakers revisiting past allegations against former President Bill Clinton. Chief Washington correspondent James Rosen tells us about one liberal commentator is calling a real reckoning for Democrats.
Shannon, good evening. In the tsunami of sexual harassment allegations that has subsumed American politics, media, and finance, one name, slowly but surely, has resurfaced.
Indeed, I did have a relationship with Ms. Lewinsky that was not appropriate.
Beyond his Oval Office affair with a 22-year-old intern, which led to impeachment, President Clinton was also accused of raping Juanita Broaddrick in a hotel room, groping Kathleen Willey, and other incidents similar to the allegations now roiling America. In this #MeToo moment, Michelle Goldberg writes in the New York Times, we should look clearly at the credible evidence that Juanita Broaddrick told the truth when she accused Clinton of raping her. Democrats are guilty of apologizing for Clinton when they shouldn't have.
I think people are starting to believe and realize that I was truly sexually assaulted by Bill Clinton.
In The Atlantic, Caitlin Flanagan says it was a pattern of behavior. It included an alleged violent assault. The women involved had far more credible evidence than many of the most notorious accusations that have come to light in the past 5 weeks. But Clinton, Flanagan notes, was not left to the swift and pitiless justice that today's accused men have experienced. Rather, he was rescued by a surprising force, machine feminism.
You look great!
Flanagan points to a 1998 Times op-ed by feminist icon Gloria Steinem, which overlooked Broaddrick to argue, even if the allegations are true, the president is not guilty of sexual harassment. He is accused of having made a gross, dumb, and reckless pass at a supporter. President Clinton took no for an answer. The widespread liberal response to the sex crime accusations against Bill Clinton, Flanagan concludes, found their natural consequence 20 years later in the behavior of Harvey Weinstein. Stay loudly and publicly and extravagantly on the side of signal leftist causes, and you can do what you want in the privacy of your offices and hotel rooms.
Bill Clinton had been a great voice for women in public and a great violator of women in private. That's all been adjudicated. He's been impeached. He's paid a price. Now what we need to do is to call out men, call out all men to be accountable for saying what they see.
Liberal men are also chiming in, with MSNBC host Chris Hayes tweeting, as gross and cynical and hypocritical as the right's "what about Bill Clinton" stuff is, it's also true that Democrats and the center left are overdue for a real reckoning with the allegations against him, unquote. Shannon?
James, thank you very much. Well, a little-known law that seems to cloak sexual harassment cases against lawmakers in secrecy may soon get a makeover. Under the current framework, accusers are granted the right to sue only if they file a written statement within 180 days, undergo 30 days of counseling, and then mediation. And in the end, the lawmaker's identity is kept confidential, even if he or she is found guilty. To top it off, Democratic Congresswoman Jackie Speier says if there's a settlement, the taxpayers foot the bill and it's paid out of a U.S. Treasury fund, and it never goes public. Today, one of her GOP counterparts in the House described some of the charges leveled at lawmakers.
This member asked a staffer to bring them over some materials to their residence. And the young staffer, is a young woman, went there and was greeted with a member in a towel. At that point, he decided to expose himself.
The Washington Post reports that between 1997 and 2014, that secret fund paid out more than $15 million to victims. Well, the sexual harassment and assault allegations against Harvey Weinstein shook Hollywood and sparked a ripple effect of victims coming forward in other industries, like right here on Capitol Hill. Now the impact is reaching far beyond U.S. borders. Inspired by the women and men who've spoken up, the Weinstein effect has gone global, with powerful men facing serious allegations worldwide. Let's talk about it now with Larry O'Connor, host of The Larry O'Connor Show, and contributing editor at Mediaite, and Richard Fowler, a Fox News contributor and radio talk show host. Good to see you tonight, gentlemen.
Good to see you, and good evening.
Okay, so listen, I used to practice as a sexual harassment attorney. To me, it's not like this stuff hasn't been happening. It's now that there's just a public conversation and people feel like they have a way to come and talk about it. It's not anything new, but Richard, it seems like the floodgates are now open.
It does seem like the floodgates are now open, and I think it speaks to a larger problem that exists in this country for a very long time. I think rape culture, some would argue, has surrounded America for a very long time, and finally the chips in the wall are starting to sort of fall apart, and women are starting to come forward and tell their stories. And I think this is just part of the solution. I think we have to do a couple things beyond just women going out there and telling our stories. I think the second thing we've got to do, Shannon, is we've really got to work on educating men and boys as early as possible on how to treat women and to make sure that they don't make the same mistakes. And I think the other thing that we've got to do, which you don't hear a lot about, is for those men who have been falsely accused, there have to be space for them to tell their stories as a cautionary tale to other men, so they don't end up in the same mistakes, they don't end up in the same predicaments, and they're allowed to sort of say, I've heard about this and I'm going to stay away from it. And so I think we've got to do a little bit more to open up the space so we can truly, as a country, break down rape culture as we know it today.
Yeah, and these are some difficult conversations to have, because some men say, well, if I ask her out and she says no, if I offended her, is that going to count as harassment? I mean, we have to have some common sense about it, but these tough conversations. So just since these things have broken in Hollywood and here in Washington and across this country, we've had the defense secretary in the UK step down. There are others there in top government positions in Italy, in France, in Israel. There are all kinds of allegations. I wanted to read something that came into us from a woman who was a journalist in Israel who made an accusation about another journalist there. And she's talking about this bigger problem. She says, Weinstein ripped off a Band-Aid that covered the wounds and scars that so many women still carry in industries that are still predominantly male-led. And now that is off, I think it is time to examine and heal. She said, this is not an act of revenge, but rather an opportunity for social reform.
Yeah.
Larry?
Yeah, and I think it is a very powerful thing, and I agree with much of what Richard said. I'm a little chagrined by the fact that now Democrats can just say, oh yeah, maybe we got it wrong about Bill Clinton 20 years ago. I mean, you worry about a rape culture in America. Juanita Broaddrick was ignored, ridiculed, demeaned, and absolutely trashed by the party elites, by Mrs. Clinton, by the way, for the last 20 years. And just now, suddenly, Democrats are seeing religion on this. In terms of this global suggestion that suddenly the Weinstein effect is affecting countries globally, it may be so, but I think it's important to point out that these are mostly Western, Judeo-Christian dominated countries. I think we still have a huge problem in the Middle East, in Sharia-oriented countries who embrace a very, very strict and intolerant view of Islam. Those countries have major problems with how they treat women.
Killing people and treating them like property and pushing people off buildings and stoning people alive. I mean,
yes.
Yeah, that's a totally different
It is
conversation.
Almost impossible for a woman to prove a rape allegation in a country like that. Until we start seeing that, I don't think we can say there's a global movement. We're seeing very sophisticated Western countries.
No, I tend to agree with that. And don't get me wrong, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, I think misogyny and I think rape culture doesn't know party affiliation.
Right, that shouldn't be a party conversation.
Right, and I think this is something it's wide ranging. Like Democrats are guilty of it, Republicans are guilty of it, but I think we've got to do, now where we are as a nation with the Me Too campaign and other campaigns, we've got to do everything in our power to work on breaking it down and to work on making sure that both women and men go to safe workplaces and they go to safe schools and go to safe malls. And for that to happen, like I said at the beginning, we've got to be able to have these conversations in safe places.
All right, we're out of time, so very quickly.
I accept that, but I don't think we can underestimate the power of Bill Clinton getting a pass.
He did.
Because he had for 20 well, no, he didn't get impeached over the Juanita Broderick case, and that was a sexual assault.
Well,
and I think that had a powerful influence on
today,
our culture.
I think it was today or in the last couple of days, there was an opinion piece in the Washington Times, or excuse me, in the New York Times that said, basically, I believe her, and we got that wrong. It's 25 years too late for Juanita Broderick. But the conversation continues, and you guys are going to stick around for some more conversation, so don't go anywhere. Coming up, what if the Germans held a climate change conference and the Trump delegation brought a lump of coal, a whole lot of coal to the party? Well, we're going to tell you how that went down. Stick around.
In the modern world, it pays to switch things up. And when you switch to Esurance, you can save time, worry, hassle, and, yep, money. In fact, drivers who switched from Geico to Esurance saved hundreds. That's auto and home insurance for the modern world. Esurance, an Allstate company. Click or call.
Having my mom around to help with my daughter means the world to me, so I got her a smartphone.
Amanda, I'm out front, honey.
It's the all-new Jitterbug Smart from Great Call. It's got one of the biggest, brightest screens, and with the built-in 5-star app, I know she can always get help.
One touch and you'll be immediately connected to a highly trained agent who can confirm your location, assess the situation, and get you the help you need.
For the holidays, get 25% off at Best Buy, Rite Aid, and Sears.
Being the little brother stinks. Hand-me-downs? No thanks. And with Mom's OxyClean laundry detergent, things won't get better anytime soon. I mean, look at these colors. I've worn this shirt like a gazillion times, and you can't even tell. And I'm not gonna take this lying down.
Introducing OxyClean laundry detergent. It reveals colors, restores whites, and removes stains, so clothes can stick around wash after wash.
Seriously?
Sorry, kiddo.
If your moderate to severe ulcerative colitis or Crohn's symptoms are holding you back, and your current treatment hasn't worked well enough, it may be time for a change. Ask your doctor about Entyvio, the only biologic developed and approved just for UC and Crohn's. Entyvio works at the site of inflammation in the GI tract and is clinically proven to help many patients achieve both symptom relief and remission. Infusion and serious allergic reactions can happen during or after treatment. Entyvio may increase risk of infection, which can be serious. PML, a rare, serious, potentially fatal brain infection caused by a virus, may be possible. This condition has not been reported with Entyvio. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, experience frequent infections, or have flu-like symptoms or sores. Liver problems can occur with Entyvio. If your UC or Crohn's treatment isn't working for you, ask your gastroenterologist about Entyvio. Entyvio, relief and remission within reach.
I enjoy the fresher things in life. Fresh towels, fresh soaps, and of course, TripAdvisor's freshest, lowest prices. So, if you're anything like me, you'll want to check TripAdvisor. We now instantly compare prices from over 200 booking sites to find you the lowest price on the hotel you want. Go on, try something fresh. TripAdvisor, the latest reviews, the lowest prices.
I don't want to sound paranoid, but do you think our recent online sales success seems a little strange?
Nah. Ever since we switched to FedEx Ground, business has been great. They're affordable and fast.
Maybe too affordable and fast. What if people aren't buying these books online, but they are buying them to protect their secrets?
Hi, Bill.
If that is your real name.
That's William, actually.
Affordable, fast FedEx Ground.
My matchmaker was awesome. She asked me a lot of questions that were driven to get to know me better.
With over 25 years of experience and millions of matches arranged, It's Just Lunch is the world's #1 personalized matchmaking service.
I loved working with my matchmaker. I would give feedback after every date.
It's Just Lunch set everything up. They set up the restaurant, they set up the date. They made it simple.
Find out what
are the answer to climate change. Instead, the White House argument seems to be that for the near future, fossil fuels are unavoidable. Listen.
So without a question, fossil fuels will continue to be used, and we would argue that it's in the global interest to make sure that when fossil fuels are used, that it's as clean and efficient as possible.
Even renewable energy advocates acknowledge that hundreds of millions of people in countries across Asia and Africa rely on natural gas and coal because it's affordable and abundant. They say the goal should not be eradicating coal, which they call unrealistic, instead burning cleaner coal. which has proven to greatly reduce carbon emissions. Shannon.
All right, an interesting showdown there on that front. Trace Gallagher, thank you very much.
Sure.
Well, shock in Northern California where a gunman apparently randomly targeted 7 locations, killing 4 people. It could have been much worse if not for quick work by a local elementary school. Teachers say they heard gunfire from about a quarter mile away. The school went into lockdown, and authorities say that potentially prevented massive loss of life at the school. The gunman apparently left the school grounds and then was killed in a shootout with police. Coming up, big news on tax reform. We'll hear from congressional firebrand Dave Bratt. Apparently progress that could mean real tax cuts coming for you. Stick around.
Your brain changes as you get older, but Prevagen helps your brain with an ingredient originally discovered in jellyfish. In clinical trials, Prevagen has been shown to improve short-term memory. Prevagen, the name to remember.
Diabetes can be a daily struggle, even if you're trying your best. Along with diet and exercise, once daily Toujeo may help you control your blood sugar. Get into a daily groove.
Let's go tonight. Share the spice of life. Baby, slice it right.
From the makers of Lantus, Toujeo provides blood sugar lowering activity for 24 hours and beyond. Proven blood sugar control all day and all night, and significant A1C reduction. Toujeo is used to control high blood sugar in adults with diabetes. It contains 3 times as much insulin in 1 milliliter as standard insulin. Don't use Toujeo to treat diabetic ketoacidosis during episodes of low blood sugar or if you're allergic to insulin. Get medical help right away if you have a serious allergic reaction such as body rash or trouble breathing. Don't reuse needles or share insulin pens. The most common side effect is low blood sugar, which can be life-threatening. It may cause shaking, sweating, fast heartbeat, and blurred vision. Check your blood sugar levels daily. Injection site reactions may occur. Don't change your dose of insulin without talking to your doctor. Tell your doctor about all your medicines and medical conditions. Check insulin label each time you inject. Taking TZDs with insulins like Toujeo may cause heart failure that can lead to death. Find your rhythm and keep on grooving. Ask your doctor about Toujeo.
How old I am means less to me than how well I'm aging. My age is just 29 in Tilo years.
Tilo Years is a simple DNA test that reveals how well you're aging. Go to TiloYears.com to learn how you can get a test kit sent right to your doorstep. Send back a drop of blood and we'll measure your telomeres, the caps on your DNA that tend to shorten and fray with age. Use your results to improve and track your lifestyle and discover what your DNA reveals about your age. Just $89 at TiloYears.com.
Know how well you're aging.
The perfect gift. 1 carat 3 stone and halo rings $6.99. 1 carat Foreverest rings are just $9.90. Diamond bands $249 to $339 per carat. Diamond studs are $399 per carat. Thousands of gifts guaranteed to appraise for double. The Jewelry Exchange.
It's the Sleep Number semi-annual sale on the only bed that adjusts on both sides to your ideal comfort, your Sleep Number setting. Does your bed do that? Right now, our Queen C4 mattress is only $14.99. Save $300. And Sunday. Visit sleepnumber.com for a store near you.
Tonight, tax reform and Obamacare, both issues wrapped into the still developing Senate plan, including a repeal of the individual mandate as part of tax reform, sparking strong reaction on both sides of the aisle. Chief Congressional Correspondent Mike Emanuel reports from Capitol Hill.
Yeah, we're optimistic that inserting the individual mandate repeal would be helpful, and that's obviously the view of the Senate Finance Committee Republicans as well.
House Republican leaders say they intend to pass their tax reform package in the House this Thursday.
Washington has been propping up a tax system riddled with special loopholes for the well-connected. This bill changes this. We are cutting taxes for middle and low-income families.
President Trump plans to rally House Republicans before that pivotal floor vote. On Twitter, the president sung the bill's praises. A great tax bill with the middle class getting big tax cuts. One question for leadership remains the SALT deduction and how many Republicans from states with high property and other taxes like New York, New Jersey, and California would vote yes. New York's Claudia Tenney says she's leaning yes.
Well, if we get the House version with a compromise on SALT, that's something I can support, but the Senate pulled it out, and it's going to be real hard for New York.
New York's Dan Donovan says he's a no.
And because of the elimination of the state and local tax deduction, it's just harmful to New Yorkers.
Democrats suggest when the American people run the numbers, they won't be happy.
When the public understands what's in this bill that harms working families versus who the true beneficiaries of the bulk of the tax cuts are, they're going to be really angry.
The House will be in order.
And while there are signs that Republicans within the House are coming together, so far that isn't the case between the House and Senate.
This thing is going to go into a conference committee where we're going to deal with the kinds of concerns and issues that people want dealt with, and we feel good where we are.
Where the Senate is fine-tuning its tax overhaul in the Finance Committee.
We still don't have the full text of the bill.
This evening, the House Rules Committee met to prepare the House version of tax reform for the House floor. Sources suggest they are going to go forward in the House without the Obamacare aspect, feeling like they could add it later in a House and Senate conference. Shannon?
All right, Mike Emanuel live on Capitol Hill. Well, while Senate leaders threw everyone a curveball today by announcing their decision to include a repeal of the individual mandate in their version of the tax bill, the House is forging ahead. Speaker Ryan telling reporters they will stick to their original plan. Doesn't include that mandate repeal, at least for now. Joining us now to discuss, Congressman Dave Brett, member of the House Budget Committee and member of the Conservative Freedom Caucus, our favorite wonky person.
Thank you,
Our
Shannon.
favorite wonk.
That's right.
Okay, so this individual mandate thing not happening in the House. It's going to happen in the Senate. There's some question about whether it will help or hurt the package there. I want to play a little bit of what GOP Senator John Kennedy had to say.
Right.
I support repealing the mandate as a part of our tax cut legislation, so long as it doesn't upset the apple cart so we can't get to 50 votes.
You think that could be a make or break in the Senate for getting to that magic number?
No, I think they're there. I think they got the votes, and now I think it's a winner on us. It saves us $300 billion, and the folks might recall if we would have repealed Obamacare fully, we would have $1 trillion, right? So this is a third of that amount, and that'll help to get tax rates lower for the middle class and S Corp, small businesses and C Corps. And then last Tuesday in Virginia election, federal health care issues were the #1 issue at the state level elections, right? Governor, lieutenant governor. But the #1 exit poll issue was the federal health care, and people are not happy because the Obamacare premiums are going up 40%, and no one knew to message on that. So in hindsight, you can see that.
Well, and that's such an interesting thing because so many of the hikes and the requirements that were built in to Obamacare came as he was leaving, or he would never have to face re-election again. So there are new surprises all the time.
Yep. And the system, I mean, if you're a little cynical, was designed to fail, so it's imploding. Now we're going to have to subsidize big insurance, right? Like, I mean, no one wants to bail out anything these days. There's no taste for that. And then what everybody forgets on the tax side is all you have to do is beat the runner behind you. The Democrats a month ago put in their tax bill raising taxes $10 trillion. People can Google it. They won't believe it. But it's the Democrat Progressive Caucus budget, 107 votes, so it's for real. Raising taxes $10 trillion. Raise spending by $11 trillion. The Democrats have more debt and deficit than we do when we cut taxes.
Listen, that doesn't pull well. Nobody. Well, I do occasionally get these emails from people, the patriotic millionaires, and say, we want to pay more taxes. There's nothing stopping you from writing a check to the U.S. Treasury. Go right ahead. But most people, that doesn't work with their family budgets. All right, now, there are some skeptics, as you might imagine, across the aisle. You don't expect any Dem votes on in the House side.
I doubt
going to be tough to come by in the Senate as well. Here's what the Senate's top Democrat, Chuck Schumer, had to say about this whole thing that the Republicans, he says, have cooked up.
They're cutting taxes on the wealthy and taking health care away from millions and raising the premiums of millions of others, all to help reduce taxes on the rich. Does that sound familiar? Well, it does to us, because that's why the health care bill failed. and that is why their tax bill is going to fail as well.
All right, is that an accurate assessment of what you guys are proposing? Just strictly factual?
No, I mean, on the fact, the simplest way to do it is just average family income is $60,000 in Virginia. That family making $60,000 with 2 kids is going to get $1,200 back, right? So there's a middle class tax cut, right? Are there going to be some moving parts, right, for business deductions and complexities? Sure, right? But on average, it's the small businesses are going to get a tax cut. The C Corps are going to go down to 20. It's going to make us competitive with the rest of the world. And the middle class is getting a tax cut. We wish we could do more, but we're limited by $1.5 trillion. And, you know, you can, if Senator Schumer was, you know, had it right, then why are they scared of us passing the bill, right? If it's a travesty, it's not a travesty. The most important thing, it's going to create economic growth. No one even knows what that looks like, right? From Bernie through Trump, the election last time was about the average middle class wages, that, right, the forgotten man, that was the election. Wages have been flat for 30 years. And so if you want to raise wages, there's only one way, I taught economics for 20 years, to raise wages, and that's to increase productivity. Well, what increases productivity? Capital equipment. And so our tax bill does immediate expensing for capital equipment. So the guys working at General Motors or wherever, right, working on the assembly lines with capital robotics and everything, advanced engineering, et cetera, that's the in thing. That's why we make more than poor countries, right? We got more capital. We're incentivizing capital. It's a total winner. So the Dems are a little nervous.
All right, well, we'll see. We know they're not getting risk. By the way, Professor, thank you very much. I used to do, I shouldn't admit this, crossword puzzles in my econ classes.
No,
because I got a little bit lost. But I got what you were saying there. I should have taken your class. All right, come back soon.
Anytime. Thank you, Shannon.
All right, up next, did President Trump's pressure cause Sessions to cave on the Clintons? We'll debate next.
Check this out, bro.
What's that, Brohim?
I switched to Geico and got more.
More savings on car insurance?
Yeah, Professor, and more. Like renter's insurance.
More ways to save. Nice, Bro-Tata Chip.
That's not all protein shake. Geico has motorcycle and RV insurance, too.
Ooh. That's a lot more.
Oh, yeah. I'm all about more Teddy Roosevelt.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
My dad's, grandma's, Aunt Stacy's.
What are the reasons you care for your heart? Cunol CoQ10, with 3 times better absorption, as the #1 cardiologist recommended form of CoQ10 to support heart health. Cunol, the better CoQ10.
Presenting the Shark Ion Flex 2X, the freestanding cord-free vacuum that can live anywhere because it has 2 rechargeable batteries. That means you can always be charging, even while you're cleaning. Welcome to hassle-free runtime with Shark.
We believe in rock and roll. We believe in blasting it down the fairway, turning up the heat and the fun. At Del Webb, we believe in life well led, in your own beautiful, smartly designed home, in an active adult community with sushi eaters, artists, thrill seekers, and you. We believe you'll like it here.
Tomorrow, a how-to guide for dealing with the Dems' DACA demands. Plus, Peter Schweitzer unearths the latest in the Uranium One controversy. Next, Ingram Engel.
Tension in your neck and shoulders can make you really uncomfortable, and achy and sore back muscles can be downright painful. What you need is to wrap yourself in soothing relief with the all-new Thermopulse Relief Wrap, the new ultra-soft and plush wrap that's shaped like a shawl that gives you a choice of warm, heated relief or a relaxing massage, or both at the same time, unlike regular heating pads.
Double the offer, that's 1-800-986-4553, or log on to reliefwrap.com. Don't delay. Order now.
Returning to our top story, Attorney General Jeff Sessions weighing in on Uranium One and the Clintons. A couple weeks ago, President Trump said this about the Justice Department under Jeff Sessions.
The saddest thing is that because I'm the President of the United States, I am not supposed to be involved with the Justice Department. I'm not supposed to be involved with the FBI. I'm not supposed to be doing the kind of things that I would love to be doing, and I'm very frustrated by it.
All right, so is Sessions bending now to political pressure? Who better to ask than Larry O'Connor, host of the Larry O'Connor Show and Fox News contributor? That soundbite was from his show. Fox News contributor Richard Fowler Great to see you both.
Good to see you, Shannon.
Okay, so you talked to the president. He expressed clearly, I think he knows there's a line he's not supposed to cross, but it's hard. He can't help himself. He's frustrated.
Yeah, and I think the sad part of that, when he says it, the saddest thing, it's taken a little out of context. My question to him was from the perspective of my listeners. I talk every day for 3 hours here on WMAL in Washington, D.C., and I said, this is what I hear all the time from the listeners, Shannon, is that they are confused and don't understand that they see all of these things with the Clinton family, with the Clinton Foundation, with Uranium One, with the emails, with all of the things that they believe deserve a fair and just investigation, and it doesn't get investigated, and they want to know why. And that's the reason that the president answered that way. And I think that it's a good sign that Attorney General Sessions has said that he is looking into this and investigating, possibly bringing a special counsel in. And I hope it's from the outside, like way outside, because it can't be from D.C. here, someone who's worked in the Justice Department, worked in Washington, D.C., because sadly, everyone's intermingled here.
Everyone, small town.
Yeah.
It really is.
And everyone has fingerprints.
Everybody has worked together here. Everybody knows each other. That's just a fact.
I'm saying that the DA from Nome, Alaska, bring him in and let him investigate.
You might enjoy a little visit here in D.C. And so, listen, the Attorney General took heat from both sides of the aisle on this today. I want to play a little bit of what he got from GOP Congressman Jim Jordan about this.
Well, Mr. Comey is no longer the director of the FBI.
Thank goodness.
We have an excellent man of integrity and ability in Chris Wray, and I think he's going to do an outstanding job, and I'm very happy
He's
about
not here
that.
today, Attorney General.
And I would say,
you are, and I'm asking for a special counsel.
the gentleman I would say looks like is not enough basis to appoint a special counsel.
And listen, Richard, yesterday, Jim Jordan, along with another Congressman Getz, they had an op-ed out basically saying to Jeff Sessions, do your job, outlining all these things they think he should be investigating. And we don't know if he is or not, because they can't publicly disclose a lot of that.
Right, and they can't. That's what the FBI does. They can't disclose investigations. But as far as Uranium One goes, there actually was some investigations in 2015. A lot of field offices investigated Uranium One. It was eventually bumped up to the National FBI office. It was investigated. At that point in time, career investigators, career prosecutors said there's not enough evidence here. And just a little bit of background: when we decide to sell uranium, not saying that this was a good idea to sell this uranium. That's not what I'm saying. But when we decide to make any uranium deal, there's 9 agencies that vote on this, where there's 7 cabinet secretaries. One of those votes happened to be the State Department, and there are also 2 administration officials from the Nuclear Regulatory Agency, or the Commission, rather, excuse me. Hillary was one of those votes. So if Hillary were to sway this commission, that means she would have to sort of be in collusion with all 8 other members and say, now you guys all need to vote the way I'm telling you to vote so I can help my husband benefit this one donor who, at the time, this one particular donor had divested all of his funds in Uranium One to begin with.
But you understand that it raises questions that at the same time, a bank connected to this paid Bill Clinton $500,000 for a speech, and then millions of dollars flowed into the Clinton Foundation from groups connected to this deal. So that's under investigation.
Right, but the individual, this all comes from a book called Clinton Cash, right? And the individual they're talking about had divested his interest 2 years prior to this deal even happening.
All right,
Richard, wouldn't you agree that all of those agencies that had a part in this should have known that there was an active investigation about blackmail and payoffs? Don't you think that those agencies who made this decision about the uranium
saying this was a good decision.
should have known that Hillary Clinton and the Clinton Foundation, and shouldn't have Congress known? That's the other problem. The Obama administration and all of those agencies, the Justice Department, withheld information to the Intelligence Committee. That's what should be investigated.
We got to leave it there. And by the way, there are 2 House committees investigating this, and who knows if the feds are or not. We'll find out.
But the feds investigated in 2015. That's the point I'm trying to make.
All right, we're back with more right after this.
Palm Wonderful Pure Pomegranate Juice is loaded with antioxidants. Fiercely focused, free radical annihilating antioxidants. Palm Wonderful. Crazy healthy.
Nick was born to move. 3 toddlers won't stop him, and neither will lower back pain. Because at a Dr. Scholl's kiosk, he got a recommendation for our custom-fit orthotic to relieve his foot, knee, or lower back pain from being on his feet. Dr. Scholl's, born to move.
If you suffer from muscle cramps in your legs and feet, you're not alone. Millions of Americans get sudden, agonizing cramps every day when they're driving, walking, or just trying to sleep through the night.
I have suffered my whole life with muscle cramping. I would fall to the ground. It was so bad and so painful. I remember times I'd be crying and And everybody around me, they felt bad because there was nothing at the time that you could do about it. When I tried TheraWorks, right away, all the cramping went away. I initially applied it at the bottom of my foot and my thigh, and right away, I was able to sleep through the night. TheraWorks is definitely a breakthrough. It's a little miracle. I wouldn't be sitting here if it didn't work on me. Just try it, give it a shot. It takes less time than it takes me to brush my teeth. It's so easy to use, and it's worth it. I can cook again. I can sit at my computer for 8 hours a day and I don't hurt.
TheraWorks Relief is my choice for preventing and relieving muscle cramps. Make it yours too.
Get TheraWorks Relief today at TheraWorksRelief.com.
Same hotel, same price? No! There's a bunch of different prices out there all over the internet. Trivago instantly compares them to find your ideal hotel for the best price. Hotel Trivago.
OxyClean, America's #1 stain fighter.
I have a big stain. It's coming out. Wow, that's crazy.
Grape juice on a teddy bear is coming right out.
It came out so fast.
Lace is very hard to clean. Dingy to white in seconds.
OxyClean gets the tough stains out.
My wife and my father were infected with an early ransomware. This was personal. PCmatic used a foreign-made blacklist. We built the only whitelist antivirus to close the security holes in the blacklist right here in the United States. We won the industry's most difficult test. My kid's school paid an $8,500 ransom. Now it's more personal. PCmatic Pro was launched to protect schools, businesses, and government agencies. We achieved the first perfect score on the Virus Bulletin RAP test. We built malicious script blocking on top of PCmatic's whitelist. This year we've had 1 infection. Our goal is 0 infections and for the best antivirus to be made in America. The lower the infections, the less ransoms paid. Defeat ransomware. PCmatic, America's antivirus.
Santa set down Max's gifts by a tree, but stopping at Quick Jack thought, what could this be? A portable car lift with self-locking bars that fits at the lift points of most trucks and cars? Push-button controls make it easy to lift. This Quick Jack should be my own holiday gift. So he slipped it back slow and snuck off with the jack. And nothing was merry that morning for Max. But at QuickJack.com, we have savings for you. Enter Holiday Steal and your wish will come true.
I love your vest.
Your crochet purses have wonderful eyes.
In the modern world, an app can help you find your perfect match. And with Esurance, Coverage Counselor can help you find great coverage that's a perfect match too. That's auto and home insurance for the modern world. Esurance, an Allstate company. Click or call.
Time now for Night Court. A couple of years ago, during the Obama administration, the owner of a Michigan-based meatpacking business said that the Department of Agriculture had inspectors who threatened to shut down his company because his break room contained a pamphlet promoting traditional marriage. The Trump administration's USDA just came out with a new policy aimed at preventing those kinds of incidents. It says that believers can feel free to express their views at work, whatever they happen to be. Well, more than 15,000 scientists have signed a quote-unquote warning to humanity. The letter describes an environmental apocalypse right around the corner because of so-called man-made disasters, including but not limited to climate change. The same group issued similar warnings 25 years ago, saying all hopes to avert the threats would be lost or could be as soon as a decade, which would have been 2002. Well, most watched, most trusted, and most grateful you spent the evening with us. Good night from Washington. For Fox News at Night, I'm Shannon Bream.
Well, good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. The Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, spent 5 hours on Capitol Hill today talking about Russia and its alleged influence on Donald Trump's presidential campaign. But that's not the only big story that involves Russia and the Attorney General. Yesterday, Sessions announced in a letter that he has directed the Department of Justice to take a closer look at the Obama-era Uranium One deal, something we've covered a lot on this show. In that letter, the Attorney General signaled he was open to appointing a special counsel to investigate that deal and any involvement by Hillary Clinton. Richard Goodstein is a lawyer. He's advised both of Hillary Clinton's presidential campaigns, and he joins us tonight. Richard, thanks for coming on.
Good to be back. Thanks for having me.
So I want to start on a totally apolitical note, just citizen to citizen, American to American. Does it bother you at all that the Obama administration allowed Russia, given all you now believe about Russia, access to a pretty large percentage of our uranium reserves?
No. Let me give you 3 facts as to why not. First, uranium is not a dear commodity. The price has come down by 3/4 over the past 10 years. Kazakhstan is the biggest source of uranium on the planet. Russia's basically got good control over that. Russia has its own uranium, okay? And the uranium that Russia ended up controlling thanks to Uranium One, which, incidentally, Hillary Clinton had zero role in, to the extent that it went out of the country at all, and most of it won't, it went to Canada, got reprocessed, and then came back to the U.S. So, no,
right. Well,
wait,
but hold on. Wait, that's just as a factual matter. Some of it went beyond Canada and went to Europe, and where it went, then we don't know. And it left without an export license. But hold on, wait. But I'm a little confused, and we'll get to Hillary in just a second. But I'm a little confused, given that you've come on the show so many times to say that Russia is our primary adversary on the global stage, that they seek to undermine the U.S. government, that we're at war with them, that you would be comfortable with giving them control of some of our uranium. What would be the strategic benefit to the United States in doing that? Why would we do that?
So again, if there's a commodity that's come down by 3/4 in price over the past 10 years, that tells you it's not a very dear commodity. So what you're suggesting is the person who owns that land out in Wyoming or wherever should be made to sit on it rather than capitalizing on it.
No, I'm saying that if you believe that Russia is a threat to the United States, you probably wouldn't want to give them control over it. And if that uranium was meaningless, then answer this if you would. Why did the Clinton Foundation encourage Uranium One to hire the Podesta group to lobby the Clinton State Department for this deal approval? If it was not a big deal, why would they go to the trouble of hiring the brother of Hillary's campaign manager to lobby for the deal? I'm confused.
Yeah, you'll have to ask them. I have no idea. Because of the fact that Hillary Clinton had no role herself, and because under CFIUS, the Committee for the Foreign Investment in the United States,
yes, I know what
there's
it is.
9 agencies, right? Treasury is the lead agency in these CFIUS deals.
True.
State is one of 9, and again, it never reached Hillary's desk. So you have to ask them why.
Wait, but hold on, no, but I'm a little bit confused because we know from the last campaign that Hillary Clinton was the most successful and best informed Secretary of State in the history of this republic. Given that,
that's true.
Why wouldn't she be involved in the transfer of ownership of an essential natural resource like uranium to our primary geopolitical adversary? Why wouldn't she be involved in the details of that? What was she doing? It seems negligent. No, I'm serious.
It would be
it's a simple question. Would you be happy if the Trump people did that?
It would be a problem to relinquish uranium if we started building tons of nuclear power plants. But with our demand for nuclear weapons, it's not. And that's the fantasy underlying this, that the people who are fanning this want to have people believe.
Really? I'm wondering, I mean, I can't really tell. On some topics, you seem to think Russia is a disorganized, impoverished state that poses no threat to us. And on others, they're a supervillain that, quote, hacked our election. So
the only thing it's got going for it is its villainy, right? That's the only thing. Its economy is not strong. But the fact of the matter is, again, Kazakhstan has 39% of the world's uranium. That's where Russia's neighbor, right? Russians have control over that. They don't really need to come here to, like, steal our precious resource.
But for some reason, they did. I wonder why. Richard, thank you for joining us. That was fascinating. Well, despite supposedly being a Russian operation, for some reason, the Trump White House has cracked down on Russia Today. That's the Kremlin-backed news outlet, the cable outlet. And it was informed yesterday by DOJ that it must now register as a foreign agent. A lot of journalists in Washington are applauding this. Why is that? Max Blumenthal has been watching carefully. He's a senior editor at Alternet, and he joins us tonight. Max, it's no defense of the content of RT to wonder why journalists who are rightly concerned about any government attempt to regulate their product are applauding the regulation of this cable channel. Why is that?
Yeah, I mean, the Washington Post has said democracy dies in darkness, but they've been pushing this campaign
against RT on a, what I would consider a shoddy basis. And we're watching democracy kind of fall apart, and the Washington Post and other mainstream outlets are bringing the darkness or the silence. I mean, the ACLU is silent on this matter. RT was threatened with the arrest of its news director and the seizure of its assets. We're witnessing the rebirth of a kind of new McCarthyism, in my opinion. And let me just talk about why I think this is happening. I mean, I go on RT fairly regularly, and the reason I do so is because while the three major cable networks are promoting bombing and sanctioning half the world, at least the non-compliant nations in it, RT is questioning that. They let me talk about, for example, what the real sources of foreign influence are in this town, including the Israel lobby and organizations like AIPAC, which have been promoting a humanitarian catastrophe in the Gaza Strip, war on Lebanon, war on Iran, and which is not required for some reason to register as a foreign agent. And I don't know why that is.
Are there other news organizations that have been required to register as foreign agents other than this one?
Well, I think there are three, and they did so voluntarily. So this is an unprecedented step. And, another indication of why it happened was the January ODNI report, which accused RT of such horrible sins as hosting a third-party debate, presenting an anti-war view in Syria, where the U.S. and its Gulf allies have been waging a proxy war to promote regime change and promoting radical discontent. So that means giving a platform to voices like myself, or Abby Martin, the former host of Breaking the Set, or Chris Hedges, who hosts an Emmy-nominated show for RT, and who is the former Middle East bureau chief of the New York Times. So this is an unprecedented step. It's an attack on press freedom. And again, we are hearing complete silence from the mainstream media, which is pushing this campaign of hysteria.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's the remarkable part of this, because reporters have, and I think it's noble most of the time, this reflexive instinct to defend the right of news organizations to say what they want, but not in this case. And I just think, I don't understand. Where's the Committee to Protect Journalists on this?
Yeah, I mean, during the Obama era, I think it was Robert Gibbs, Obama's press secretary, he said Fox News is not a real news organization.
Yeah,
and Jake Tapper stood up in the White House press gallery and said, no, Fox News is our sister organization, we must defend it. But Jake Tapper has been driving the campaign against RT America, basically inciting against its American employees. And we see this from CNN and MSNBC with no content analysis. Now let's talk about the real foreign influence in Washington from, for example, the Saudi and UAE monarchies, which are responsible for the worst humanitarian catastrophe in the world in Yemen. Why do we never hear about that on any news network except for RT? That speaks to why there's so much hostility towards RT, because they're exposing the real sources of influence in this town.
Max, thank you. I appreciate that analysis.
Thanks for having me.
Joined now by Fox senior political analyst Britt Hume to help unravel part of what happened today with the Attorney General. As you saw, Britt, the Attorney General came under what seemed like fire from Republicans on the Hill who are anxious to see an independent counsel investigation of the Clintons and Uranium One. Explain the cross-currents there, if you would.
Well, Republicans want an independent counsel investigation of the Clintons and Uranium One for much the same reason the Democrats wanted a special counsel investigation of Russian meddling in the election, because they think it will reflect badly on the other side. And Sessions, I think to his credit, resisted saying that he was going to do that. He said he would have the appropriate people under the manual that governs the behavior of people in the Department of Justice look at it and see if the facts of the case met the standard for the appointment of a special counsel. That's where the matter was left.
Huh. So what do you think is likely to happen? Do you think there will be an independent counsel investigation, or a couple of them?
Well, I don't know. That'll depend on what lawyers in the department say. I know some conservatives who want this to happen are very pessimistic because they think the career lawyers left over from the Obama years will be the ones who make the call, and it will never happen. My own view, Tucker, for what it's worth, is that special counsels are always and everywhere a bad idea. And the reason is not that they're not honorable people who conduct these investigations. The reason is that you're carving out a certain case for investigation by a largely unaccountable prosecutor who has but one case that he or she must deal with. And, there's ostensibly a grant of what's called a measure of independence. But as a practical matter, it is nearly total independence with a virtually unlimited budget for the special counsel to go forward. And it amounts, Tucker, to a roving commission. And we see that illustrated. We've seen it time and time again, that offenses that one would never have contemplated when an investigation is undertaken end up being prosecuted. The Manafort case is one example. That the activities that were charged in that case occurred, nearly all of them, before the Trump campaign was even born, and had nothing, so far as we know, whatever to do with the Trump campaign and its relations with Russia, which were a part of the investigation. But you see, once things get started, they can metastasize in any direction. And it's not as if the Department of Justice can look at this and say, look, we got a long list of things we need to investigate and possibly prosecute. This particular matter does not rank high enough to warrant the commission of resources to it, and it would be a lower priority matter. Once you put the special counsel on the case, it is priority one, and he can go wherever he wants. He can use such FBI resources as he needs, and on it goes. I just think, and as a constitutional matter, I think there's an accountability issue that these things raise that have not been satisfactorily answered.
And next thing you know, you've got FBI agents pulling you out of the shower, which just happened. Britt, thank you very much for that.
Well, yeah, and coming into your home in the wee hours of the morning, for some federal criminal financial offense. Really.
Wouldn't want that. Thank you, Britt.
Yeah, who would, right? Yeah, you bet.
A national hero may have been eaten by giant crabs. When? Who? That's minutes away. And with the congressional immigration debate well underway, we'll ask a Republican congressman why the party is letting Democrats take the driver's seat on that issue. Puzzling. Next.
Tucker Carlson is brought to you by the Capital One Venture Card. What's in your wallet?
Can I give it to you straight? That airline credit card you have, it could be better. It's time to shake things up. With the Capital One Venture Card, you get double miles on everything you buy, not just airline purchases. Seriously, think of all the things you buy.
Great. Is this why you asked me to coffee?
Well, yeah, but also to catch up. What's in your wallet?
How old I am means less to me than how well I'm aging. My age is just 29 in teloyears.
Teloyears is a simple DNA test that reveals how well you're aging. Go to teloyears.com to learn how you can get a test kit sent right to your doorstep. Send back a drop of blood and we'll measure your telomeres, the caps on your DNA that tend to shorten and fray with age. Use your results to improve and track your lifestyle and discover what your DNA reveals about your age. Just $89 at teloyears.com.
Know how well you're aging.
That star means something. This Friday.
Tell me, can you see the star?
Pack your bags, boys. We're going to Bethlehem.
Bethlehem? Start a new tradition.
I think people are going to remember this night for thousands of years.
For the whole family. And wherever you go, your best friend will be right behind you. The Star, the story of the first Christmas, rated PG. You're adorable.
We're on a mission to show drip coffee drinkers it's time to wake up to Keurig.
Wakey, wakey, rise and shine.
How are you? Well, watch this. I pop that in there, press brew, that's it.
So rich.
I love it.
That's why you should be a Keurig man.
Full-bodied.
Are you sure you're describing the coffee and not me?
Pain relievers might all seem the same, but Salonpas Pain Relief Patch is the first and only FDA-approved OTC topical NSAID and the strongest labeled pain reliever available without a prescription. Salonpas for tough pain.
This program is brought to you by Salonpas. Nothing is proven stronger or more effective against pain. Fox News Channel on Sirius XM. Your favorite shows on Channel 114. Plus, every story, every 15 minutes. Fox News headlines 24/7 at Channel 115.
I won this 55-inch TV for less than $30 on DealDash.com.
I got this $1,200 computer for $100.71.
These aren't actors, they're real people who got real savings at DealDash.com, the fair and honest bidding site.
On Deal Dash, I got this $349 mixer for less than $25.
iPads sell for as little as $5, laptops for $10, and professional cameras for as little as $20.
I won this iPhone for $8.48 at DealDash.com.
I got all this for less than $50 on DealDash.com.
Try Deal Dash today. If you don't win, get your money back, but hurry, everything must go. Go to DealDash.com now to start bidding.
In my first 4 months on Deal Dash, I won 104 auctions.
And shipping is always free.
Visit DealDash.com and start bidding today.
Last fall, Republicans took over all levels of government. You may remember when that happened. It was a campaign defined by the issue of immigration. There were a lot of issues, but I think it's fair to say that was the biggest one. Donald Trump called unequivocally for protecting the border and for reshaping immigration policy to serve the interests of Americans, ordinary Americans, not just big donors who want cheap housekeepers. Democrats, meanwhile, moved in the opposite direction. They created sanctuary cities. They demanded amnesty for people here illegally. They attacked the very idea of citizenship as bigoted. In the end, Trump won. Democrats lost, in part because of their relative positions on this issue. Given all of that, it was just a year ago, it was bewildering to read a piece in Axios just 2 days ago with this title, quote, "Democrats in the driver's seat on DACA." Now, according to that story, congressional Democrats are confident they can get Republicans to concede to a full amnesty for all DACA recipients with no concessions. Not a concession on limiting chain migration, not one to stop future illegal immigration, not one to block another even bigger amnesty, say, a decade down the road. Unnamed Democrats in this piece were quoted openly boasting they can do whatever they want on immigration.